Dealers have so many great options for their customers, and that's why we work so hard to try to help them retain them, because they have some unique value propositions that nobody else does. And I don't think most dealers take advantage of it. The dealers that I think do a better job with retention have a retention system in place that they're working on a daily basis. And it's really designed very carefully for their customers. And again, that can be anything from on the service side and how that operates, but also to specifically on how can we get customers who are coming in for service actively using our service department to upgrade into a newer version of the vehicle that they currently have.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. I'm your host, Bill Springer. Today's podcast is sponsored by DriveSure. DriveSure helps new car dealerships remain the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. For information on how DriveSure can help your dealership, go to drivesure.com/dealership solutions. My guest today is David Boyce, CEO and co-founder of Team Velocity. David has spent more than 3 decades helping dealerships improve how they engage customers throughout the ownership lifecycle. Through Team Velocity and its Apollo platform, David has focused on helping dealerships create more connected, personalized experiences by bringing together customer data, technology, and operational execution. Today, we're going to discuss why customer retention isn't simply a marketing challenge, it's an operational challenge. We'll explore how dealerships lose customers in ordinary moments, how disconnected experiences create friction, and why the dealerships that win tomorrow will be the ones that consistently execute the fundamentals of customer experience today. So, David, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just jump right in. One of the themes that I've heard you talk about, David, is that retention isn't a campaign. It's how the day is run. Well, help me understand what you mean by that.
Well, dealers that have strong retention for both sales and service it's a day-long effort. It's part of how they operate their business. And I think for a lot of dealerships, retention gets down to marketing, and just sending out marketing messages that are different for different customers. And that can often be pretty fragmented from the customers. But remember, it's one customer, and you've got a lot of different messaging sometimes going to that customer, which can be confusing. Whether you're due for a recall or you're able to upgrade your vehicle, or there's some incentives that are coming out from a finance perspective. So it's the dealers that I think do a better job with retention have a retention system in place that they're working on a daily basis, and it's really designed very carefully for their customers. And again, that can be anything from on the service side and how that operates, but also to specifically on how can we get customers who are coming in for service actively using our service department to upgrade into a newer version of the vehicle that they currently had.
Right.
There's some marketing involved in that, but that's more of a system that's something that you're doing on a daily basis with dedicated people that are part of it. So obviously Team Velocity does marketing for dealerships, a lot of it in the area of retention, but it's done in concert between the sales and the service department at the same time with a customer. And that's pretty rare in our business, because everybody is they're attempting to retain the customer for some very specific thing, and we think you want to retain the customer for the entire life cycle of their vehicle if you can.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's difficult. That's tough to get done in today's world. But we work with dealers who do it well. And I would say it's that for many of our dealers, it's the backbone of their business.
Sure.
I mean, think about it from this perspective. I say this to dealers a lot, and they get it. But if you're just a mid-size or normal size dealer, let's say you sell 100 cars a month and you service 1,000 cars a month. So you do 1,100 transactions a month. 90% of those transactions, or so, a very, very, very large percentage of those transactions, are a current customer.
Mm-hmm.
maybe about half the sales are from somebody who's serviced from you before or bought from you before, and 95% of the service transactions are someone who's done business with you before. So if you think about it, the retention really should be the number one thing that they focus on. But if you take a look at dealers and their budgets and how they operate, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, it's 90% of their marketing and their efforts go towards customers. It's just generally going out to the market, and I find it fascinating given how much business gets done with people who just own your brand.
Right.
Keep it
Is
simple.
it fair to say? Is it fair to say that it's the difference between conquesting for new customers versus focusing on primarily on your existing customers?
Yes, I mean the math is very evident. I mean,
Yeah.
when you run it, that if you just step back from it logically, you would put considerable effort into retaining your current customers relative to conquesting new customers. That's the opposite of how it's done in our business. I'm not saying you don't need to do both, by the way, but from a pure mathematical logical perspective, that is where we see our dealers focus heavily on their current customers, retaining and recovering their current customers, as well as, if you're going to do some conquest marketing, do it in a combination method. Combinate meaning let's combine sales and service together, which is hardly ever done in our industry. We do it as a matter of just the way we do things. And it should be people that already drive your brand. I mean, many brands have a retention rate of north of 60%. I mean, 50 is common. And so if 60% of the people that drive a Toyota, let's say, or a Honda or a BMW are going to get another Honda, Toyota, or BMW, I mean, that's that market's already there. You don't have to do anything to build that in. You just have to make sure that you're the Toyota dealership, let's say in this case, that's retaining that customer for their lifetime of relationship with Toyota, and that's the name of the game. So we love it, but it's still an underserved part of our industry, customers. And you can tell there's ways you can tell that. I'll get into some of that in a few minutes potentially, but yeah, that's how we see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could probably spend an hour just talking about that.
Yeah, right.
The reasons behind why conquesting gets so much more attention than focusing on retaining your existing customers. But I wanted to ask you about looking at defection of customers. You also talk about customers being lost in ordinary moments. Can you give me some examples in terms of kind of what you mean by, when customers get lost in those ordinary moments?
Well, the statistics on it are pretty interesting because the more miles that are on a car when they come in for service, the higher the RO is going to be. But if you take a look at this on a graph, and we graph out every single one of our clients, and they almost all look the same. The graph, they do the most amount of ROs at 10, 20,000 miles, and then it is an absolute drop off after that.
Mm-hmm.
So when the cars actually get to the point where you could trade them in and so on, so the dealer's writing a very small amount as a percentage. Most dealers write a pretty small amount of ROs on cars with older miles on them. And we know that they're defecting, they're using independent repair shops. On the other hand, when customers write an RO at 80,000 miles, those ROs tend to be bigger and juicier because there's more things to do to the car. So the dealers very, very much want to try to retain their customers and have that not happen. And so they ultimately, many customers ultimately become lost. And some of those are happening in ordinary moments of frustration. Just some of it is really basic, and we see it. One of the things that Team Velocity does is we build websites for dealers, and most people who build websites just host the site, and a whole bunch of other companies put their applications on the site. Let's just say service. Let's talk with service for a second, and I'll give you an example of how people get lost. Someone does the service coupons that they put on the site, right? Some other company does the service scheduling apparatus. There's another plug-in to see, you plug it in and see if there's a recall on your vehicle. All of these tend to be different companies. So the customer, let's say, has receives marketing and it says, hey, Bill, you're due for service. Here's some great coupons for your vehicle. Please click here to schedule service.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what you would do. You go to schedule service and you would think it would just say, hey, Bill, here's some of the coupons as you schedule. The website would know exactly the email that was sent to the customer. It's the opposite.
Right.
You click it and you're like, where's the coupons that I just received? They're not in there. There's none. Do I bring them with me? Then it gets worse because some of these service scheduling applications are, I'll just say, not great. We offer one and we integrate with some really good companies, but they're not a great experience. So we see the customers literally go into this, let's say, a third party application, and not come out and bounce right back out. They couldn't have possibly scheduled service in that period of time. They were right. Then they'll go over to the chat tool or something, right? It says, hey, need help? I'm here. Help me. That's another company. And they just can't sometimes schedule service. I know that sounds like it's not the case. That's why dealers' phones ring off the hook. Dealers' phones ring off the hook because people are having a difficult time. And that's how you can lose customers. It's like, you emailed me. You gave me these coupons. I went to your site. I tried to do what you said to do. First of all, the coupons weren't there, which I think people like. And it just didn't work. And then I tried again, and let's say it's 8:00 at night, and the dealer's closed, and you can't talk to somebody. That's
Right.
how you lose customers.
Yeah.
So we see the disconnect happen all the time, and there's obviously many other ways to lose customers. But if you make, one of my favorite clients says, when you make it easy for people to do business with you, they'll do more business. And so that's our motto, is we try to make everything connected. So when we do the marketing to the customer, we manage the website, we manage the service scheduling, we know what they're due for service, and we make it easy, because most people, as you know, are doing this on a mobile device. And so we try to make it very, very easy for them to connect the dots so we don't lose them.
Yep.
There is no gap.
Yep. Yeah, that's that digital friction that we were talking about earlier, that any type of friction in that customer experience is going to either slow down the transaction or cause that customer to defect and not complete it, and potentially go somewhere else. And looking at those friction points, I think and trying to eliminate as many of them as possible is critical, and looking at it through the perspective of the customer's eyes.
If a dealer was a customer of theirs and they had that, trust me. See, that's not how the thing about dealers is interesting, is when a member of their family or somebody wants to buy a car or service, they're like, no, don't go through the process in the system here. You're going to get frustrated. Yet that's what their customers have to do. And
Right.
I think it's just an ecosystem is in place that has been built from a technology perspective, has been built over about 25 years. Some of it's 25-year-old technology and some of it's new, but none of it works together. There's so much digital friction. If the dealers actually clicked through everything, right, and actually just took this in themselves, they would make changes. And that's what we do for them. When someone becomes a client, we walk them through how it currently works, and oftentimes they're stunned. They're stunned because they're like, wait, what do you mean the coupons aren't on the website that we send out in the mail?
Right.
Like, they just think they are. There's somebody that's doing that. What do you mean that when someone schedules service in, a great application, let's say Xtime, which is very popular, oftentimes the coupons that are sent out by another company, they're not in the service scheduler. So when you schedule service, you got to let them know, hey, I got some what coupons? What do you mean? Well, I got some coupons from you guys. I mean, you emailed me. You don't know what they are? The service scheduler doesn't know what they are. What do I have to bring them? Print them out, bring them? I mean, there's a lot of friction.
Yeah.
And, much less. I could give you 100 examples of that.
I'm sure.
That's how I think customers end up getting lost. But it can be solved. If and I'll share with you some from a technology perspective. One way we figured out how to retain customers better when we get to that point. But it's solvable. It's just not the ecosystem that we currently have. Is you end up working with 14 or 15 different companies, and I'm not exaggerating. Like that's a common thing when you get into dealers. They will work with 14 or 15 different companies in the world of technology and marketing.
Before we get to that, I wanted to circle back on your comment just a couple minutes ago on those post warranty customers. You know, those 4, 5, 6 year old vehicles, and um, I'm curious what your experience is on this, David, because I did a NADA workshop earlier this year, and I showed a slide early on in my presentation on service retention that exactly what you said, that the vast majority of repair orders in a dealership service department is on 1, 2, 3 year old vehicles. But when you look at the proportion of parts and service revenue by model year, it's I found it to be a nice normal bell curve that is right around the 5, 6 year old vehicles. That's where the highest percentage of revenue is coming from those 5, 6 year old vehicles. Yet it's somewhat of a paradox that that's where it's coming from, but the retention rates on those customers are typically quite low. So it really means, making sure that they make it through that 1, 2, 3, 4 year period and remain customers, so that by the time the vehicle reaches that age and the customer needs tires and brakes and batteries and that type of thing, they're still coming to the dealership. Do you think most dealerships understand that, or is there still a disconnect there?
No, dealers, if you take a look at their efforts, the majority of their efforts are after someone buys a car.
Mm-hmm.
Right in that stage when they're likely to come to the dealership anyway. Almost very few efforts are out in that 50, 60, 70,000 miles. And that's not only the time that you're going to write only good things happen and dealers have more options, right?
Right.
Because the customer is either going to write a large RO and get the car serviced and all the things you mentioned, tires, brakes, all the big stuff, or someone might say, you know what? If you like, the dealers have so many options. Let me give you a really good one that we like to keep customers coming back. You go in and you write a large, because let's just take your scenario. Customers in, it's 60,000, 80,000 miles, whatever on the vehicle. It's going to be a large RO, and the customer has a pause, right? It's like, that's a lot of money. And I'm doing the tires and the maintenance work. So we do something that we've had great success with called service reimbursement. You say to the customer, look, why don't we go ahead and get all the work done? And if you'd like to, what we do here is we will reimburse you should you decide to upgrade this vehicle. Go and think about it, but get the work done. And if you decide to come in and upgrade your vehicle in the next 7 days or 14, a limited amount of time, I'll just reimburse you for the service work that you did here, because we're going to have to do it on the car anyway.
Yeah.
Customers love it. It takes they're like, okay, now many of them don't come back, and then customers will say, well, do you do that all the time? They're like, yeah, this is a program. That's what I mean by a program. This is a program that we offer here at the dealership that you can't get in an independent repair shop. If you were in an independent repair shop right now, you'd just be spending the $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it would be, and that would be it. They would just take your money. Because we buy cars at the dealership, like to buy cars that are in good condition. After we do this work for you, this car is going to be mechanically in perfect condition. So we'd be happy to buy it back from you. We'd be happy to upgrade you to a new vehicle, and I'll just give you all the money back that you just put into the car.
That's fantastic. That's a great idea.
That's a perfect example of an aha moment that you can create for a customer. Now, we have the technology to email and mail that customer that offer with that RO, right? Because we dial into the systems, we pull the RO. And the dealers can choose. You don't want to make that offer if someone got a $25 something,
sure,
oil change. That's not very compelling. But if you're spending the kind of money that you just mentioned during that period of time, it's an incredibly compelling offer. And dealers could do that all day long and hopefully some of the folks that are listening to this or watching this can take that idea and use it. And believe me, we have dealers that sell 30 to 40 cars a month alone, just doing that. Just by following those customers up, saying, we know you spend a lot of money on it. We appreciate it. We'd love to take that amount of money and put it towards a newer vehicle if you like. And customers really, that's an aha moment. That's good. Now, when they go to the next time they have to come in for a major repair, where are they going to go? To the place that might give them their money back. At some point, you're going to upgrade your vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've had some success
Love it.
on. I can talk about this kind of stuff all day long because we see what works.
Yeah. And it's a unique
work.
value proposition that only a dealership can offer.
Only a dealer can offer that. No other independent repair shop can offer that. Yes, dealers have so many great options for their customers, and that's why we work so hard to try to help them retain them, because they have some unique value propositions that nobody else does, and I don't think most dealers take advantage of it.
Yeah. So let's circle back to the connecting that customer data, and trying to bring these disparate systems kind of all into one. And, we already talked about the digital friction that can cause problems between the dealership and consumer and impact negatively the consumer experience, the customer experience. Why is this so important in 2026?
Because customers expect it. You obviously, as a consumer, do business with lots of companies. You do business with a health insurance company. You have a doctor. You buy a lot of products off Amazon or Apple or whatever, right? I mean, you just have these relationships with these companies that you do business with. I wonder if you could even name one when you do go to their website. Let's say you go buy another phone from Apple, or you go to Amazon after this call and get some stuff that you and your family need. What's the first thing that you do on all those sites?
You log in.
You sign in, right? You log in. It's the first thing you do. Why? Because you want them to know who you are, so that those companies are like, oh, it's Bill. And then the website changes right after you log in. It says, hey, Bill, here's the stuff you bought last time. Here's what we recommend here. I mean, it's there. You are very obviously a customer. Go to a car dealer's website and look for that. Look for the sign-in button on 90% of car dealers' websites. Now we do it. We have a big sign-in button that says sign in here. And once you sign in, you stay signed in, right? And we only use your mobile phone number. It's not hard these days. Just put your mobile phone number in. We take your number. We look up your records in the DMS. We integrate with all of them. And it pulls back and it changes the website and it says, hey, Bill, here's your car. Here's the miles on your car. Here are the coupons that you qualify for. Here's the trade value. Here's your equity. Here's upgrade options. Here's your service history. Everything you need as a consumer on our websites is right there for you. That's how you should treat customers. But dealers all send customers to their website. All of them. Every marketing a dealer does says, please visit www.boystoyota.com, right? Everyone. And then you get there, 90% of their transactions, when you combine sales and service, are with our current customers. So 90% of if you write, I don't know, you sell 100 cars and you write 1,000 ROs, 85 to 90% of those are probably going to be someone who's done some level of business with you before when you combine them together. Yet you go to the website and you're like, which is where they send you for everything. And you get to the website doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're qualified for an upgrade. We'd love to buy your vehicle. You have equity. Here's 3 brand new vehicles that you should get, right? Some equity mining solution that you're using. Again, we do all this. They go to the website and the website has no idea. Like, where's my trade value? You have to fill those forms out. Hold on a second. You just literally sent me an email or whatever that says, hi, Bill. We would love to upgrade your 2023 Toyota Highlander, so on and so forth. Here are some other. with X amount of miles on it. Then you go to the web. You're like, okay, yeah, you got me. I'm interested. You go to the website, and the first thing the website says, "What's your name?" Bill.
Yeah.
What are you driving, Bill? What kind of vehicle are you? A
Yeah.
24 Highlander or 23 Highlander with X amount of miles on it. You know all these things. It's
Right.
just, it would be bizarre for you to get an email from Amazon or any of these other companies I just mentioned, an email from them. Then they send you to a website and they ask you for all that information again, as if they don't know who you are. There's such a disconnect in our industry between these disparate systems, as you said, that customer's the one caught up in between it. The dealer is just normal business for the dealer. They're just not used to it. Team velocity, not to have too much of a sales pitch here, but that's what our passion is to provide. We built a platform. It took a really long time. It was $100 million capital investment. It was a huge investment to build all of those tools into one platform. So when the customer gets that email, it says, "Hey, Bill, glad you clicked here for the offers. Here they are. Here's exactly what I emailed you or mailed you or showed you on Facebook or Instagram or whatever mediums we're using." But it's all connected. It's all
Yeah.
the exact same offer.
I'm curious if you're able to see for those dealerships who are executing that, that dealer login and have all their systems flowing through their website. Are you seeing more online engagement and less phone calls to the dealership? Because I can imagine that if there's more phone calls coming into the dealership, then there's more of a need to say, gosh, we need some more help, or we need AI to answer the phones. When in fact, if you go back a step or two and analyze the problem, it's the solution a more elegant solution may be there.
One of my favorite customers of ours is Paragon Honda, and probably because we worked together for a long time, and Brian Benstock is a very very good operator, but very intense, and he's very technically minded.
Mm-hmm.
So he appreciates systems. But I'll give you something he said to me a long time ago when we first built his website. We had a big focus on service and service scheduling and pick up and drop off. If you've ever want to talk to a dealer about retention, he's probably be a good one to talk to about that. But very in Queens, New York, right? not the easiest city in the world to do any level of business. And he said to me when we were building the website, he said, "One of the number one objectives that I have, and I want you to help us get this done, I want less phone calls." Now, what dealer says that? No, I mean, I haven't met anybody who says, I want less phone calls. And I said, "Okay, why do you think you get so many phone calls?" He goes, "Because our website doesn't help the customer facilitate what it is that they need to do. I want for people to be able to schedule service with their thumb." That's what he said. "I want one finger, and I want them to, when they get an email I want to be able to schedule service. I want it to know who they are and so forth." And that's why our phones ring off the hook here. I have to have people answer the phones to schedule service. And it is a point often of failure. I mean, the phones can just when I say fail, they just don't not stop working, but it's people are off, it's busy, they're on hold. You've called dealerships before, especially during busy times of the day. And it's often not a great experience. They're literally calling to do the exact same thing that they should have been able to do online.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've made a reservation in a restaurant lately, but I don't know, we might be in the same age bracket. You and I have called restaurants 1,000 times, right? "Hey, do you have any of this? Do you have any of that?" Now nobody does that.
Right.
Why? Because the online reservation systems are so good. You don't need to call a restaurant anymore. But at a dealership, the majority, if you ask a dealer, what percentage of the cars that you service was the appointment made 100% online? And that number is much, much lower than it should be.
Yeah.
It should
I'm
be
shocked by how low that is.
90, but it's
Yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
so we have tried to work really, really hard at creating maybe I'll send it to you at some point, where you could schedule service on your thumb. And I'm talking about not just an oil change. You can schedule service. And it starts with when the customer clicks an email, or because that's a lot of times how communications happen at a dealership, or they just go to the website, it knows who they are. It's simple. Amazon knows who you are when you land on that website. They're able to escort you through your next purchase very easily because of that. And that's what's missing for most dealerships.
Yep.
So,
well, as we come to the end of our time together, David, my last question for you is if you could give just one brief piece of advice to a dealer principal or fixed ops leader focused on retention, what would that piece of advice be?
Go into your conference room, okay, and have the person there's somebody at the dealership who generally is in charge of marketing. Now, a lot of times it's to a couple people because, they don't do the sales, they do the service, which is interesting. But either way, say, I want to lay out on this conference room table all of the marketing and communications that we do to our current customers. I just want to lay it all out. That will be an eye-opening experience. And then what I want to do is I want to follow that click path, if you will. So customer gets that, where do they go? Well, they go to our website. Okay, let's go to our website and follow along here. And you're going to find very, very quickly that there's a massive disconnect between and you're also going to find that you're also too bombarding your customers in many cases, because dealers consider email free, right? They're just blasting, and you're like, okay. And then, by the way, and then you can ask the last question: how many customers fit into all this? Oftentimes, there's a huge overlap. It's
right.
Like, oh yeah, Boyce got a recall. He's due for service. He's in equity. On it, the manufacturer sending him things. He qualifies for some new incentives, whatever it might be. So he's getting 4 or 5 emails at the same time, and all sending him to a website that has no idea what the marketing was sent there. That's the exercise that I would do. And I think dealers, because they go to work every day and have such a difficult job, which we appreciate, they don't have time to sit back, and it builds over time, right? That table will be full, an absolute full of that conference room table, and you'll be surprised what the actual experience is, because the people who are selling dealers marketing and applications, they don't oftentimes they don't do the website.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just say, yeah, just get them to the website, I guess. That's really what everyone does. And then you get to the website, and the website's like, I have no idea what any of this is.
Sure.
And so the customer falls in that gap, that technology gap, and the dots just don't connect. That would be my bit of advice.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, David, for being on the podcast today. If any of our listeners would like to get a hold of you or find out more information about Team Velocity, what's the best way for them to do so?
Just go to our website. TeamVelocityMarketing.com is the site. It's quite, it's got a whole section on retention. It's got all of our certifications. I think we're certified to do this type of work for about 25 manufacturers. So it's all there.
Well, super. Thanks very much, David. Really appreciate your time today and for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.